Hi, all you GG VIPs. H. here, coming at you a little bit early to explain some of the complexities of today's episode. So as you know, both Kerri and I live in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles is currently struggling through a horrible, horrible tragedy of these wildfires and people losing their homes, and the air quality and everything is just a mess right now. So we were not able to record a new episode this week for those reasons. We'll be back very, very soon. Do not worry. But we wanted to make sure that we brought you something. And so I was texting with Kerri and I thought about it and I was like, what would be like a fun sort of like audible or video vacation for the week, if you will? Like, what would be a nice thing to have in our little momentary absence from recording? And I was like, Big Sally, of course. We need Big Sally. We need Big Sally right now. That's right. We had Brenda Vaccaro on the podcast a while back. And if you are a member of our Patreon, you listen to the full chat. So this is coming at you again today. However, if you aren't a part of the Patreon, this is going to be brand new to you. And how exciting is that? I would love to go back to the first time I had my chat with Brenda Vaccaro. As you know, I worked hard on securing Brenda Vaccaro for this podcast. It was a goal of mine. Alaska and I texted about this a lot. Kerri and I talked about it a lot. I openly talked about me wanting to make it happen because I was trying to manifest it into the world, if you will. And, well, it happened. And I'm so excited. Brenda was everything you can imagine and more. She was just herself. I mean, she was just kind of Big Sally in a wonderful Hollywood legend kind of way. So I really think you're going to enjoy today's chat. Because of all the wildfires, I do want to encourage you, if you are able to help in any ways that you can help, please give to the American Red Cross. You can give locally to a wonderful organization that I love here in Los Angeles called Project Angel Food, which is delivering meals and assistance to so many people in the Los Angeles area. You can also go to GoFundMe and find individual GoFundMes of people here in Los Angeles who are really struggling. There's a lot of pain happening here in Los Angeles right now, and we're all feeling it, even if we aren't necessarily directly impacted by it. But we also, if you live in Los Angeles, you know someone who's lost their home, and that's a big deal. I know many people who've lost their homes, and it's a hard time. So if you do have it within your means to give, please give. But if you're anything like me, you also need a distraction from all of the sadness that's out there, and that's why we turn to the Golden Girls. So I hope today's episode will allow you a little bit of a distraction and bring a little bit of joy, because that's what Big Sally's here for. So let's get on with the show. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm just going to start things off by telling you how much of a fan of yours I am before the Golden Girls and after. Like, everything you've done for, it wasn't even just, I mean, yes, Golden Girls is my default, but your work is just so admirable for like anyone who works in entertainment, who's had a career like yours. It's so diverse and so like, it's just so nuanced.
Thank you. My mother's listening to this.
Hi, Mom.
Hi,
Yeah,
Mom.
hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
You see, Ma? You see? Oh, that's great to hear. Thank you so much. That's a genuine compliment, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, we mean it. Well,
I don't know. It just came naturally to me. You know, I was a little girl, and I was up in the mirror looking and making faces, and my Italian grandmother on my son said there's something wrong with her. And my mother said, we can't stop her. So, I mean, I've been doing it for so long.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That it was meant to be. I wish that some of the actresses or actors that I've seen that did not have that calling, you know, would not do it. You know, they look forced, they look nervous, they look, you know, like it's not comfortable. It's not meant to be.
Yeah.
It's meant to be. You know, some people have a meant to be in their life. That was for me. I was very lucky, though, really.
It also feels like in so much of what you do, in every performance, and I've seen a lot of them, there's so much of you. There's so much of you as like the person we know in interviews and just like talking to you now. But there's also, it's like you use your own persona to find this hidden person in the script and give it sort of emotion and life and humor and all of the things that it needs. And like, but it's still you. You're still there. Do you feel like you use sort of your own shtick, if you will, in a lot of your performances?
I don't know whether that's a compliment or not.
It is. It is. It is a compliment.
No, because you have to be the character that you are.
Yeah.
I mean, Meryl Streep works completely differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember her first movie where she had that accent and she was, you know, some people transform themselves into the character. I guess if I look back, because sometimes when I look back, I think, yeah, you know, I worked on that character, you know, but to do what she did, I don't know that I'm that kind of an actress, you know, where she does the accent, she does I mean, it's phenomenal what she does.
Yeah.
She actually imitates people, you know, and she's brilliant at it. My God, I don't think we have another actress as brilliant as she is that way, you know. Yeah. But I appreciate, and I know what you're saying, because for me, it comes from the heart. It comes from the way I see it, the way I feel it.
Yeah.
You know, and within that, I hope we see the character, I think, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm like now just trying to answer this properly, but I think, you know, that's really where it comes from. It's just trying to do, I guess, the heart and soul of somebody.
Well, and that's what,
see if they don't have one.
Well, and that's what made, I think, your performance. And I want to start with this because obviously that's why one of the reasons why we wanted to chat with you today was your performance on the Golden Girls, and the way, I mean, the way you are as an actor is, I compare it to someone like a B. Arthur or like a Betty White, in that we always know it's B. Arthur and Betty White. We know that we're watching these people, but they're inviting us into the story and giving us a slice of a character that, from their point of view, that sort of blends both of these worlds, and we love them for it. And you're very similar, which is why I think your performance in that episode, rightfully so, earned you an Emmy nomination, and the way you fit in with the cast was just so great. I just want to ask you first off, like, what are your memories from doing the Golden Girls?
That B took me to lunch.
Oh.
Which was a phenomenon. You know, I think that she liked me. I think she was, and we knew each other before, you know, through other people, but I'd never acted with her or had any kind of professional, you know, experience with her. But I think she thought I was good. She liked me. And she asked me out for lunch. And so the one that played the mother, who was that little old lady?
Estelle Getty.
Estelle Getty.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't remember it. Estelle Getty said, she's taking you to lunch. Wow. She doesn't take anybody to lunch. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. God bless me, because I know she can be difficult. You know, I know that look she gives, you know. I mean, it was like, it was a phenomenon, the way she could just, you know, put somebody out for the day. You know? It was just like, she didn't like you. You were really going to be a sorry son of a bitch. You know? When she got through with you, you know, if
she liked you.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was one of the most memorable things I've ever experienced, was being with those girls.
Yeah. How did the part come your way?
It was so much fun. And each one had me backstage talking about themselves and the other ones. You know, I'll tell you one thing, you know.
Kind of go on. Who was gossiping about who here?
They were
all gossiping about each other. She thinks she's number one. I got news for you. You know, things like that. But she was not. I mean, there was no two ways. She was.
Yeah. Well,
and
how
she was extraordinary to work with.
How did you get the part? How did it all come about?
I don't know, except Gail Parent, who I saw recently, who wrote it, said, I wrote it for you. And I went, you did? I never knew that, you know. Wow. So, but I thanked her there so many years later. And Gail's a friend of mine. I said, oh my God, she's like a slow Dorothy Parker. You know, that's how smart she is. She's just like on the target every minute. And I thanked her for the part. And so she said that she wrote it for me with me in mind. So my God, was I lucky. I was just asked to come and do it. I went, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because all the actresses were phenomenal on that show. I mean, really, you know. I don't
Definitely.
know how popular Betty White was. I never really had 2 words with her.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Is that interesting? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had a chat because I knew everybody else better, but I just didn't know her that well. But she was sort of an insular person, you know, does her work and comes to work and goes home and you know, a real worker. And but everybody was lovely. Everybody was like professional, and you know, if they didn't like you, you wouldn't know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody was professional and gracious, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And the writer was Gail Parent, was one of the writers, and she was so funny, a lady.
Yeah.
One time I went to a party of hers, and she had on a beautiful ring. It was Christmas time. And her husband's, what did she say to me? I'm trying to think now. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah. So I saw this gorgeous ring on her and I said, Gail, that's such a beautiful ring. Lair gave it to me for Christmas. That was her husband. Said, oh, she said, I would have rather had a pool.
Oh my God. That is my
you know
kind
what
of
I'm
woman.
saying?
Yeah.
She was such an original thinker.
Yeah.
And she was so comfortable with how brilliantly funny she was. To this day, she is.
Wow.
Well, it's great. So you knew Gail.
But nobody delivers a line like her, you know.
Yeah.
She said, I wrote that for you. She was here not long ago. We had lunch at a restaurant with 4 other of her friends.
Oh, wow.
She wanted to see everybody.
Oh, that's nice.
And it was so great to see her because I realized again what a phenomenal, funny lady she is. It's a gift.
Yeah.
And so nice to have female writers on, on the show as well.
Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you went back with Gail. You knew B from earlier, and did you also know Estelle and
B was
Rue
in
Estelle?
What's that famous restaurant? I can't think. But anyway, I was with Herb Gardner. She was with her husband, and she turned to Herb Gardner. I don't think she said, "Is your mother still alive?" And he said, "Yeah." She said, "Why?" Well, I guess she met us. I thought she was terrible. And so, I mean, even Herbie laughed. Do you know what I mean? It was like the why came in so fast that he almost hadn't just finished the sentence, you know? She was like, I don't know, she was brilliant. She had something about her.
Well, you and B, I mean, one of the things that I find so amazing about, because I mean, I mean, I'll be honest, I fell in love with you first from The Mirror Has Two Faces when I was a little kid, and I saw it and I became obsessed with you. And then of course I did a deep dive into everything else. So that's the origin story of my love for you. But
thanks.
You and B were, I mean, what's so amazing, you and B Arthur were on Broadway together. You weren't in a show together, but you were on Broadway at the same time she was doing MAME, of course. You were nominated for 3 Tonys throughout the 1960s. And you both were kind of contemporary Broadway actors that then in the 70s really exploded into doing other things. You obviously with Midnight Cowboy and getting an Oscar nomination, and B with Maude and everything else that she was doing. And so it is fascinating that like your 2 paths first then crossed in a show together with this one episode of The Golden Girls some 20 years, 30 years after you already knew each other, which I find so amazing that
I know.
And that the story was
and
between
she treated
you two.
me on the show just like, you know, an actress that was well known to be respected.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no big deal. You know, we had to go to work.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of times she would just turn to me and say, that was perfect. You know, and that coming from her, I went, phew. You know, I was glad she would applaud me. She was a phenomenal friend. One time she called me. I don't know. I was having the worst day. And I picked up the phone. She said, Brenda, it was the service. Yeah. Brenda, it's B. Don't call me back. She said, I just saw you on, and then she names what it is. You were brilliant. Don't call me back. She said that maybe 7 times, honey. I was on the floor laughing. Anyway, that scene that you did, don't call me back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like such a brilliant thing to do. It's the concept of giving a compliment was, don't call me back.
That feels like so B. Arthur.
That does.
I know, isn't it? It is.
She can't be bothered to be called back, but she wants you to know that she liked what you did, which is a wonderful. Well, had you watched the show?
She took me to lunch, and she told me I never take anybody to lunch, and I think the girls were like, "She took you where?"
Well, were you like, before you did the show, before you did your guest appearance on the Golden Girls, had you watched the show at all, and did you know much about? Because your character is obviously the widow in that episode of Phil, Estelle Getty's son, which is, you know, you're mourning and there's a funeral and everything. So did you know much about the character Phil, and did you watch the Golden Girls before you did the show?
Oh yeah, I watched the Golden Girls a lot. I mean, I thought they were an extraordinary team, you know, of total brilliance and excellence and timing. Their timing was flawless.
Yeah.
You know, so it was really important for me to see it, not only before I did it, but continuing afterwards, you know, for timing, for excellence, for comedy, you know, like what they could take one line that you would think, it's just not funny, and make it funny. So I learned a lot from those ladies. Weren't they brilliant?
So brilliant.
Each one was
so brilliant.
So brilliant.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like a joyous experience. I mean, it was like, and a lesson in comedy. If it's funny, people are going to laugh. You don't have to push it. You know what I mean? You don't have to go after it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know?
there was such a great balance. I think a lot of people have pointed out, you know, I'm sure when it aired and even now, that the balance of sort of those more serious emotional moments and the humor, people felt okay to laugh in an episode that was so much about grief. Do you kind of remember what the response was like when the episode aired? Like, did you watch it? Did you kind of have a sense of that?
It, but I didn't know what the response was. But when Bea made her speech, there were a couple of people on the set that were crying. Do you know what I mean? No big deal, but you know, it was like I noticed it and I was like, wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but that speech was beautifully written.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And everybody that was involved in that, you know, remember when she says, what does he have on? And she says, he has on, what was it that she says? Do you remember?
A dress? Wasn't it a dress?
A black teddy.
A black teddy, a black nightie. A nightie,
a black teddy. And she goes, a black teddy, a very nice teddy, Ma. You know, and that I almost couldn't keep a straight face. The way she said, thank you for remembering, a black teddy. Nice, it's a very nice teddy, Ma. You know, there wasn't anything that they did that didn't put me in stitches. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
what a team, what a magical team, because let me tell you something, 4 women like that who don't get along, you know, or there's some question. I don't think Bea was crazy about Betty. But I think she respected her. I think she respected her.
Yeah.
You know, because those were all perfect comedians. They were exquisite comedians.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to learn something about timing, that's where you learned it.
Definitely.
You know, 1, 2, 3, boom, say the line. Da, da, da. You know, everything was exquisite and excellent. So for me, it was like, I said to my mother, what did she think? She said, I never used the word perfect, but it was perfect.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
You know,
it truly was.
Nice. And the only response
wasn't that show. It just went like an arc of perfection. It went like beautifully. I mean, we're talking, you're right about death here.
Yeah.
Somebody big died.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it wasn't even about, and that's something that I think, I mean, just for me as like a little gay boy watching it, there's a specialness about that episode. There's something special about that episode. And now that I've grown up and I know more about what that episode meant, and also Estelle Getty's career and her involvement with AIDS charities and Torch Song Trilogy, and how so much of that story about, you know, your character's husband was about Estelle Getty's character sort of understanding the differences in this person, and that he wasn't queer, or that even though he wasn't queer, like he was different in his own kind of way, and that it was okay, and that your character accepted him and loved him and had children with him, and
Dorothy, B. Arthur's character, accepted him and
you
loved him.
You knew more about it than I did.
Yeah, but it meant so much.
I love that you have that understanding, that you carried that gift with you just to the nth of understanding. That's wonderful. That's really great to hear.
But so many Golden Girls fans are like that, which is why we love, for someone like you, an actor like you, to be on an episode of that weight, of that is that heavy and that important, and to hold your own. That says a lot. That's why you got an Emmy nomination for that episode, that you deserve.
I wasn't intimidated at all when you say to hold your own. I didn't think of that, but it's interesting because maybe I should have had a little bit of that going. I just went in and was having a good time and laughing in rehearsal. And, I guess also a tribute to their gift of opening the door for me, and making me feel like, yes, you're a part of our family now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That it was like everything I did, they accepted. Yeah. And so I never felt intimidated about the comedy or about what I was doing or where I was going with it. I was just comfortable. Yeah. So it was just like a regular job, a regular thing. Well, nobody made me think like, whoa, where you are.
Well, you're on the biggest
Golden Girls,
You're guest starring on the biggest show on television at the time.
At the time, I don't think I had a disregard for it. I just don't think it controlled me. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it intimidated me. I just think I had a wonderful way of having a good time, which is just being me and doing it and loving them and watching them. And, I couldn't get over Bee's speech at the coffin. That was breathtaking.
Yeah. Have fans of the Golden Girls talked to you about the episode since? Do people still talk to you about it?
Well, I mean, lately there seems to be a lot of energy about it. I wish Bee was alive. When Bee died, part of me died. I just adored her. I just, we would call each other. Don't call me back. That's what she said. Brenda, I saw you last night. You were wonderful. Don't call me back. I mean, I'll never forget that call. And I don't know. I kept it for a long time, and then we moved out of there, so I don't know where it is. But, she was just magnificent. Magnificent. Yeah. She was a great friend.
I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the other things in your career, because as I said, I'm a big fan. And to me, and I said a little about this before, but to me, what's so thrilling about you as an actor, but also your 70s films and the stuff that you were doing in the 70s, is that you went from really rocketing to fame with this performance in Midnight Cowboy, outfitted by the great Ann Roth. I mean, the amazing Ann Roth. And
I just talked to her today.
She's incredible, isn't she? She's the best. Incredible. And the fact that you went
she lived with me for almost a year.
Oh, she
did?
When
she first came. Well, yeah, she's from Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
Amish.
Oh, wow.
Amish country. So, but I mean, Kerri, she still lives out there too, but she stayed with me. Yeah, and I had this sequin coat that was really rather beautiful, lime and green and black. And I remember her walking down my hallway, and she was so adorable. She wore it like a dress and put a tie around it. And it was a coat, and she went out to a party. And I looked at her going down the hallway, and I thought, nothing like her. She took this coat, she made it a dress, man. And
I mean, just for our listeners and for possibly Kerri's sake as well, Ann Roth is an Academy Award-winning costume designer, and she was also the woman on the bench in Barbie when she says, "I'm beautiful," and the woman goes, "I know it." I mean, she's just incredible. She's an incredible human.
Incredible. And she gave me the costume in Midnight Cowboy. Here's you want a story about Ann Roth?
Yes, please.
The fox coat.
Yeah.
Right. He didn't want any clothes on. He said, well, Julie Christie and Darling didn't wear any clothes. I mean, what's the big deal? I went, what's the big deal? My mother's watching. That's all I need is my mother saying, why didn't you wear something? That's all I needed. Anyway, so what was I going to tell you about Ann Roth?
That she bought the coat,
Annie was leaving some store that would be like, regular store where you go in and you buy all kinds of different little tchotchkes and things.
Mm-hmm.
And she was leaving that store, and there was a guy with his car, and the trunk was open, and she saw all these fur coats, and I was a nervous wreck. I said, Annie, you've got to do something. I don't know. He wants me in bed nude. I can't do that. I mean, my God, I really can't. And she said, we'll work it out. We'll work it out. I said, how? Tell me how. She said, I don't know. We'll do it. We'll work it out. So she bought the coat from the guy, the red fox. She said, and he said, what do you want? She said, I want to buy that coat. Would you take? She paid him $250. And that's how I got the fox coat.
Incredible.
Wow.
Incredible. She brought it into work. And so when I walked in and John Schlesinger saw me in this fox coat, he said, oh, darling, that's absolutely brilliant. He said, Buckton Fox.
And it's movie history. It's iconic.
What a fabulous idea, Anne.
Wow.
That's how I got that coat.
Incredible.
Because of her
Incredible.
clever ingenuity.
Well,
and I mean, she was so smart. She was so clever.
She is, continues to
still
be.
Doing it.
She's continued to work. Yeah, she's still working, which is incredible. I mean, literally, listeners, go.
I'm going to see her, I guess, in maybe a week or two. She said, I'm coming by with a limo and picking you up. I said, I'll be delighted. I'll be ready.
I want to go to lunch with you guys. Wow.
Oh, my
That'd be
God.
fun.
But she lived with me for quite a while. She established her career, and I had her do my outfit on a Western that I was doing at Universal. I demanded her as the costume designer. Hello. My roommate just showed up.
Oh.
Darling. Anyway, so where was I?
You demanded her on a Western, Anne Roth.
Oh yeah, no, that's I got her hired to do the costumes. Well, it cost a fortune.
Yeah.
I mean, she was picking velvet jackets and making things from scratch.
Yeah.
And so finally somebody asked me out for lunch, one of the executives. And I went to lunch in the commissary, and he said, Brenda, this is getting very expensive with Miss Roth, I said, well, take it out of my salary. He said, excuse me? I said, I'm not changing her. I can't do it without her. She's absolutely brilliant. I mean, here's a girl from Pennsylvania who leaves her brothers in that day and age, right? Because the father dies, and of course they get all the money and she isn't. So she goes out on her own as a liberated woman at the times, of which there were none. And I said, and she pursues her own career and her own way of dressing, And so he said, but it's $35,000 a week or every 2 weeks. I said, fine, take it out of my salary.
Wow.
Yeah. Amazing.
Right? It was
amazing.
And he said, boy, you are really something. But of course, I think he told Lou Wasserman the story, and Lou probably had a big laugh, the president of Universal. And then they just shut up because she was brilliant. And there was no way not to pay her.
Well, and
way, not in my presence.
And
she made that character.
Yeah.
She said, cut your hair and do a perm. And women didn't cut their hair in those days. Cut it. I said, great idea. She literally would create the character for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, and it kind of created
a lot of good things to think about as a woman,
And the persona, it kind of created the persona that we know about you, which of course led to your Oscar nomination for Once Is Not Enough. And what was, I mean, I love asking any Oscar winner this question because it's like, or Oscar nominee or anybody who's connected to an Oscar. What was it like being nominated for an Academy Award?
You know what? My agents were so in heaven, and they were all over me about it. Oh, what we're going to do now. Oh, God, that I think I lost. My mother was the only one that said, are you in reverence for this? Are you respecting this?
Yeah.
And because I was partying and with Michael Douglas and doing my life,
Yeah.
And I was impressed. I was definitely impressed. I just think, it was young and you're building your career and it's part of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I let go, of all that stuff.
Well, I mean,
And
you
but
had
I
Michael
thought it was an
Douglas.
honor. I never stopped thinking it was an honor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I do remember not getting that involved in all the parties that would happen and stuff like that around me.
Well, the only
You
party
know,
you needed was Michael Douglas at home. I mean, that
yeah, right.
yeah,
That was enough right there. It was a lot of work.
you had your Oscar.
But I think it's an honor. It's always an honor because it's members of the Academy
Mm-hmm.
who are respecting you, and then you're part of something that was always bigger than you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was an honor. It was an honor. And I knew that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's just you're in the middle of becoming famous and it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
it's a swing. It's
Yeah.
a swing.
And speaking of things that, are bigger than just one person, like you had mentioned earlier, being on the Golden Girls, a show that's massive at the time, the
That's
same
right.
thing I think happened with Friends, playing Joey's mom. Here you are once again having this memorable guest star role on one of the biggest sitcoms on television at that time. Like, what was
Yeah.
that like for you? That must have been huge.
It was the sixth show they ever did.
Wow.
They didn't know anything about where they were going. Yes,
Wow.
it was the very beginning of the show that I was on.
Wow.
And it was their idea to give someone a parent.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't any idea to give anybody else a parent. And I don't know why they chose me. And I don't know why they chose that other lad. What was his name? The one, Joey?
Joey. Yeah.
Matt LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc. Yeah.
Matt LeBlanc. Yeah, yeah. But it was the sixth show.
Yeah.
Nobody was asking for a lot of money. Nobody was demanding this. Nobody was doing. And my agent said, "Oh, just do it. It's Christmas money," and it wasn't that much money. And I went, "Okay, it's a new show." He said, "Yeah, the word out on it is pretty good. Just go ahead and do it." Can you imagine?
Wow.
I had no idea it was going to be that successful and that famous. My God.
Those
And
Friends residuals must be so fun.
Who?
The residual checks that people get from Friends, I
No,
imagine.
they are good. They are good.
Pretty
for that
fun.
show.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. The joy of working with every one of those kids was just wonderful.
Yeah.
Because they were young, they were hopeful. They weren't stupid. They weren't like pompous.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't know what they had on their hands. They didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, while Kerri was at home as a little kid watching you on Friends as Joey's mom, I was a little gay homosexual kid in the movie theaters watching you with Barbra Streisand in The Mayor Has Two Faces, freaking out. I don't know why the 10-year-old me or however old I was at the time being like, why do I love these two women so much? Why is this my life? Why is this movie my life? What? I have to ask.
Adorable. She was in I Can Get It For You Wholesale, and I was in a show called Everybody Loves Opal.
Yeah.
So here's the Wednesday afternoon, right? There's a break. So we would meet in the middle of the street and walk down. There was a restaurant that was Chinese on 45th Street. And we would eat together that little lunch before we went back and had a sleep.
Wow.
Not a major sleep, but a little nap. And, that's how we became friends. She had on the long black skirt and the hat.
Yeah.
She used to dress at the very beginning,
Yeah.
She was funky.
Yeah.
And she was so much fun. And she was like lighthearted. And you want to go have Chinese again? I said, yeah, let's go. You sure you like it? I like it, Barbara. I like it. And so we became friends that far back. I mean, my God, I adore her.
Yeah. She's incredible. What was it like working on that film? What was it like? Because you had never done anything on screen together, I don't think, before that. Had you?
Never. No.
Yeah.
She asked me to do it. She said, Donna Karen wants the part. I said, give it to her. Donna Karen. She cuts fabric.
Yeah.
It's not, when we were laughing about it. Because I guess Donna Karen said she'd do it for no money. And Barbara said, I'm not casting my movie like this, So, but I love her.
Yeah.
She's like a good friend to me. I love her.
I mean, I still quote the line of you guys eating lunch and her being like, I'll give you half my salad if you give me half your burger. And it's just like, I don't know why. It's like the stupidest lines, but they stay with me forever and ever. from your career. It's insane. It's insane. Well, I need to the last question I want to ask you, which is
go on. You're adorable. Look at how knowledgeable you are.
Oh, I know everything.
Knowledgeable? Oh my God, it's so impressive.
I know your career from. I mean, I'm not even talking about Supergirl, and that'll be the second interview that we have someday is about Supergirl, because I know you have stories about Faye Dunaway. I've heard that.
That was a problem. I don't have any really great stories here. I do, but they're not nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We can talk about that over lunch someday, please. I would love that.
Anytime you want. I'm ready to give you all the juice on that one. My God. My mother kept saying, patience is everything. I went, no, it ain't, Mom. Oh, it ain't. You got to holler a little bit, Mom. But, all right, go ahead, darling. What are you going to ask?
The last question I want to ask you, because what I love about your career really is that you've stayed working in a lot of ways, and now you've recently just appeared on 2 episodes of And Just Like That, so now you're a part of the legacy of Sex and the City in your own kind of way, which is so incredible. What is it like to be a part of And Just Like That, and do you wish you could steal Sarah Jessica Parker's shoes?
Oh, this is the worst. What is your name, the lady? What is your name?
Kerri. Her name's Kerri. Yeah.
Kerri. Oh, there it says it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
This is a hard question. What did you want to know?
What is it like being on And Just Like That?
Not much. I don't know. Let's say it didn't call upon any special quality of talent for me.
Okay.
Didn't feel challenging?
No.
Yeah.
Ask me another question.
Would you go back? Would you go back?
And of course, I think they were struggling with the new show. I mean, it was a new kind of concept and everything,
Yeah.
And I was supposed to do 3. I only did 2. But I guess I didn't feel particularly welcome.
Oh.
And or the character didn't have the respect it should have had it evolved. Do you know what I mean? And the funny thing was because we always have to do the funny stories. The costume designer said, we need to do a fitting for the next show. I said, oh, okay. Before I leave today. She said, yeah. I said, good. So I went up and it was a caftan. I love caftans. Yeah. This one's giving me a problem. But anyway, I went up and I did, looked at this caftan. It was quite beautiful. I put it on and I said, what am I doing? I haven't seen the 3rd show. Well, you wear this beautiful caftan and you go to his house and you ring the bell. And I went, oh, okay. Just never saw the caftan again. And never saw it. So it was like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was just an oddity of thing.
Yeah.
Not from me, from that show. Oddity.
Interesting.
Not gracious.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sorry when they didn't do it, so I put it that way. I went to Paris for the weekend. Kidding.
That sounds much better.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I said, oh, that's good, because I'm planning to go to Paris for the weekend. I didn't miss it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, there's a little puppy that just walked in. Oh, anyway, but this is not everything is wonderful. Yeah. Not everything is magical. Not everything goes like this. So once in a while, it makes it more interesting to have, work where not everything is wonderful and hunky-dory. Yeah. It isn't. There are people that, like, you look at, you think, I never want to see that again. I don't, you look at the set, God, what's this? I mean, all of it, sometimes it's interesting because it's so different.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one was definitely different.
Well, but at the same time, though, it's not that hard to just be nice.
Yeah, it isn't.
What I mean?
Like, so what?
It's not that hard to just be nice. Like, I understand. I know the complications of productions and things that happen and things that are out of your control.
To the actors, yeah.
But
I really think that's very true. Yeah. It's not
that hard to be nice.
And it flows and glows.
Yeah.
A lot better to be nice. You know what I mean? And it's easy. It's easy because we're all in it for the same thing. We all love it. It's what we do well, and we enjoy it, and it makes everybody happy. So that's how I am, unless there's a bad energy. If there's a bad energy, then I stay in my dressing room. You have to come up and knock to get me out. I need a rehearsal. Okay, I'll be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do my professional best, but you know what I mean, Kerri. It's like your heart's not in.
Yeah, and that's what's so amazing, I think, about, in just going back to your time on the Golden Girls and what you were saying, that it speaks a lot about you as an actor, where you show up on set. Yeah, you're not a regular on this show, you're just a guest, but yet they welcomed you in, and it's not hard to do. And you come with the right
spirit. You come with the right spirit of giving.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not your show, but you're here to give everything you have to give.
Yeah.
And to be the best you can be, so that you're supportive of people who are living through it.
Yeah.
It's like their lives.
Yeah.
So, I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Brenda,
I remember a guy that said to me, "You got to remember one thing, baby. Life is flowing and glowing." And I thought, I'm never going to forget that. That's actually very correct.
That's perfect.
So I keep my life flowing and glowing.
Well, you're glowing, baby. You are glowing.
You're glowing right now.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want any bad energy. I just want it to be something I love to do. I do it, and it's fun. I want it to stay fun.
Yeah, definitely.
And with a striving towards excellence, but sometimes you miss it. Yeah. But this happens in your work. Yeah. You could have an interview, and when you get off, you go, "Sure, I'm glad that's over."
Well, we won't be having that today, I can tell you that.
I hope not, because I like both of you. You're adorable, and it's so good to talk to you.
Well, Brenda, it was an honor. It's an honor to talk with you. I also have to say, Brenda, that in my sort of close friend circle, I just casually mentioned that we were going to have you on the podcast, and let me just tell you, the amount of homosexual men in Los Angeles who have encountered you at restaurants, at various places, who say, "I met Brenda once, she gave me her number, she's the best woman ever." Like, literally, so many people had so many wonderful things to say about you.
Did I give them all my number?
I don't know if you gave them all your number, but one of them did. Was
I drunk? I mean, no.
Well, if you were glowing. You know what I mean?
You're flowing and glowing.
Flowing and glowing, baby.
Isn't that great, though? Flowing and glowing. I know. I was in Detroit, and he was a jazz musician, and he was like, I just thought he was so cool. He was great.
That is cool.
Rings on every finger, and he was old, and he went, "Life is just flowing and glowing." I thought, I'm going to never forget that, because that's
so
the
great.
truth.
Well, Brenda, we'll make sure we'll let you know. Thank you so much for doing this. We really do appreciate it.
Yes, and I just want to say, on behalf of, I know all of our listeners and Golden Girls fans everywhere, on behalf of all of them, I want to thank you for giving such a wonderful, fantastic performance that did deserve the Emmy win, by the way.
Yes.
On that episode of the Golden Girls. Oh, you deserved the Emmy for that episode of the Golden Girls. We're glad you were nominated,
darling,
but
thank you.
You deserved the win, because that show is special to so many of us, and that episode is special to so many of us, so many people in the community. And so the fact that you were a part of it, you gave it your all, in that you're a part of that, the Golden Girls fandom is, I'm sure everybody would just want me to extend all their gratitude for being so wonderful in that role and bringing Phil to life, because Phil was a character we never saw on camera. So a lot of what we learned about Phil, we learned from the other characters. So to be able to learn about Phil from the woman who loved him was really beautiful. So thank you for giving us that gift.
You're adorable, Kerri. I'm so glad I met you. I hope when I come to LA, we can all get together.
Yes.
We'd love that.
We have to do. And thank you so much for doing this. Everyone's going to love it.
Thank you for your support and love and energy. And I really had such a good time meeting you both. I hope we can be friends. And I'll see you sometime.
Yes, definitely.
Right,
have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, Brenda. This was so great.
Out on the Lanai is not endorsed by Whit Thomas Harris Productions, Touchstone Television, Disney, or any of its subsidiaries. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only.
All names, pictures, audio, and video clips of the Golden Girls are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.